Alright robots, today I'm going to be trying to force, this is a perfect start for it, a build that I'm going to affectionately call the Thor build. So it involves around stunning targets with shock and then hitting them with the hammer. Oddly enough, since you know Thor. We'll see how it goes. The bonk hammer has a nice little upgrade that gives you 50% increased damage if you're hitting a stunned or frozen target. But there's no innate way to make it so that the hammer itself does shock damage or cryo damage, unfortunately. So we're going to have to rely on a weapon to cause the shock and then use the hammer for the damage. So we'll see how it goes. I was theorising it this morning. Definitely something that I've seen being kind of attempted before. It's normally a co-op idea. You run like a shocking engineer and the bonk hammer guardian. It's really nice and effective. But I mean, there's better combos. It's just a cool little synergy that you can do. So for the most part, it's only really going to be useful against bosses, because most other targets, by the time you've stunned them, they're already so low that the extra damage isn't going to matter. Bonk hammer can already like 2-hit most targets anyway, so it doesn't really help that much. Let's say as I take 6 swings to kill something, but never mind. I do like the bonk hammer more than the cutlass aesthetically. I just think it's more interesting. But it is unfortunately way weaker, even with the big damage buffs and attack speed buffs you can get. It just isn't as strong as the recon. Grab some marking. Grab water can. I've got no need for hot dog. Like, it feels bad not picking hot dog up because it's one of the best items in the game, but I really don't need it. Just a nice simple circle dodging while we wait for our build to come to fruition. There we go. 50% increased damage. We are going to be going for the attack speed stuff as well later on. That should be nice with the shield. Basically just fairly generic bonk hammer build that intentionally uses the stunning mechanic. I didn't get down in time. Life jacket again, feels bad to leave it behind, but I'm not really going to need it much in the build. There is a chance that I get paintbrush and it'll buff my damage overall, would be good, but there's not really any point having 20% less armor on the off chance that I get something that isn't really even part of the build that I'm planning on doing. As you can see, we're just shy of 200 damage at the moment when something is stunned. Isn't too shabby. It's about 100 less damage than Cutlass would be doing, but there you go. The main reason for the damage disparity between Cutlass and Bonk Hammer is Bonk Hammer is meant to be a bit safer because it does really high impact damage. If you don't know what impact damage is, it builds up an invisible stun meter similar to shock, and it will stun smaller targets. So here, Thin Bubble will be fine. Line Breaker would be good. I'm going to go Line Breaker, and then I want Solar Panel. And then I want Thin Bubble. We've dropped the other weapon because this is actually better for stunning targets. As you can see, it does it almost instantly. But it also one-hits everything as well, so just one of the best weapons in the game, it really is. If you haven't seen my tier lists before, I do put this as one of the highest weapons. No, I got dragged out of killing it. Oop. Bonk. 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 This build is proven to be about 75% stronger if you say bonk every time you hit something with a hammer. It's even stronger if you're playing co-op and that winds your partner up while you're doing it. Okay, boss time. So we're going to try and get the stun meter high, then we're going to mark him, and then we're going to go to town bonking him. The cool thing about Billy is normally you don't want to be meleeing him, but when he's stunned, that bar doesn't go up, so it's a good way to get in and do some melee damage if you are doing melee. It is possible to stand just outside of the range of that build up as well, like this. But it's not the easiest thing to do. You can see nice 320 damage there. I mean, it's less damage than if I was just shooting him with the laser saw, not gonna lie, but that's because laser saw is very, very strong. Hopefully by the next boss you're gonna see some actual decent DPS coming out from the bonk hammer, but unfortunately it takes like 3 or 4 perks to actually get the bonk hammer to feel strong. Now we're going to take Line Breaker, Eye of the Tiger. We'll increase our attack speed by 35%. So it's currently like that. And I can't trigger it on these, so we'll do it on the enemies in a minute out here. Don't want any of those. Right, so you can see the attack speed right now. Take this a little bit quicker. I think. I'm going to actually have to double check that when I look back at the recording now, because there's a chance that it doesn't affect the bonk hammer, it only affects the... Oh no, that definitely sped up. There's a few inherent like perks and stuff where you do have to just double check if they're working as you expect them to, because it only specifically says bash and bonk hammer replaces bash, so theoretically it should be the same thing. It should be affected by the same buffs, but there's some occasions where it's not. It is funny how strong the laser saw is. I do love it. Such a good weapon. And it deserves to be a good weapon as well, because it's unique in its effect. And it's been such a bad weapon for so long. I'm happy to see it come to its own. Right. I am the god of melee here, not you. There we go, we've got drum, so now we can make our laser saw AoE, which is a hilarious concept. Because it hits 5 times, it means that there is, every time you shoot a target, there's this 5 times chance of proccing these individual chance things. I just dropped my phone on the floor. Which is really nice. Same with like lucky crits and stuff. It means overall, sure, if you have like 20% lucky crit and you shoot a target once, it does mean that not all of the shots are going to be crits, which means if you had a sniper that had crit in those, then you'll see higher spike damage. But the raw DPS of this weapon is ridiculous per shot. Right then, we've got solar panel. We're getting quite lucky with our perks, getting what we want fairly quickly. Right, so now we can have our shield up for longer. Which in the next upgrade will be apparent as to why that's important. If I get it. You can see it's letting us keep our shield up a little bit more, which increases survivability. And when we get even more attack speed against bosses, it means we're going to be mostly invulnerable. Which I don't know if I've showcased recently, but it's pretty fun. And the movement speed you get with this build is a lot of fun as well. Where did he go? Did he flash into the wall? Or was I just blind? Take out this bot. I do want to kill these before going through. Normally I wouldn't bother, but in this occasion it will get me the level up quicker, which actually does kind of matter with this build. Should get level up now, yeah. So it basically just means I've got the perk upgrade a room earlier. Across the whole run it doesn't matter that much, but it just means I can go into the next area with a little bit of a buff. And here's the next bit of the build that makes it start to go insane, which is why Bonk Hammer is so much fun. While Safety Bubble is active, attack speed of Bonk Hammer is increased by 50%. Increasing the attack speed from Line Breaker, it goes hard. We do unfortunately not pick up the increased bash damage at the moment, but that should be fine. I'm going to take the socks here. Just means if I head bonk something I've got any scratch damage, then I instantly heal all the scratch damage. Not a big deal, but it's pretty cool. Take popcorn as well, just for a little bit of an extra trigger if need be. Screwed up my shielding there. That's it stunned, and that's it dead. Okay, I got the bonk and stunned it, but missed the ledge that I was trying to stand on, so I didn't get to stay up there and pummel it. Bonk everything. Yeah, the alternative names for this build would be the Horny Man, I guess. That's a nice laser saw. Shame you've got burn, so you offer us nothing that we want right now. Yes, I could re-roll it, but I mean, honestly, with the purple laser saw, I wouldn't ever use my bonk hammer again, which is what I'm trying to showcase in this video. So it's probably not the best idea to enforce myself onto that. And there's a chance I wouldn't get shock on it as well, and it would cost a fair bit to keep re-rolling it. And I'm looking forward to showcasing what this build does to bosses, because it's kind of funny. It's not a quick boss kill. But if I do manage to showcase it, it will be quite amusing. And if you feel like you struggle against bosses, this is definitely a build that you can try out. Not the easiest to get the hang of, but it will, once you get to this 3-perk power spike, you'll see bosses in a different light. They just become batteries. Bonk, bonk, bonk all day long. And you might think that it seems a little bit of a waste killing them in melee, because I could just shoot one more shot at them and kill them that way. But there is a slight bonus to it. If you read the bonk hammer or the Guardian's ability in general, I could take blue screen, but it's not really necessary. I'm going to take the safety bubble. Things like blue screen are fine if you're running like a weaker AoE build and you just want that chance to kill things quickly. But this build doesn't really care about that. But yeah, what I was saying, sorry, is if you look at the bash info, it's very similar to the Recon's one, where killing enemies with it drops more cells. It's 1 extra cell per one. So by killing them with the bonk hammer, I'm getting more cells, which is giving me more shield charge. Because every time I pick up a healing cell, solar panel gives me more shield back. So yeah, there is reason to do it. It's not like a big reason, and it doesn't really matter if I was to just be using my gun more. The thing is, I don't have to use the gun more, and I'm doing bonk hammer build, so this is the curse of getting a good gun. Like, this gun doesn't need a build behind it to be ridiculously strong. And I wouldn't necessarily say that the weapon is OP, because it does have downsides. Like, it's a single, it does what it does well. It's single target damage. So I think it's fine the amount of damage it does. And the only reason it's even remotely doing AoE is because of items that we've picked up. Right then. Not an ideal boss for this. I would have preferred Judge Bull, but that's fine. So again, we're gonna build up the stun, potentially stop shooting a little bit there. Okay. Now the reason this boss is bad for this is because all the healing cells that you get from meleeing fall down there. And the point of this build is, if it was Judge Ball, you can stay on its head and pick up the healing cells while you're on its head, shielding, and you won't ever run out of shield. But because of either a bug or a strange mechanical choice, it doesn't work on Chaotic Coaster because they all fall down against that wall. So hopefully we can showcase it on the last boss. If we get Uncle Jim, it'll be a perfect example of what ridiculousness you can do. But we'll see what we get. Doesn't really matter what we take here. I don't think that there's anything else. I am literally, yes, while recording, checking the wiki on the perks. I don't think there is a perk that gives us what we want coming up. I can't remember what upgrade safe space give because I don't use safe space ever. No items that we want. Let's gamble. Right then, I do apologise about this. Boring part of the video. That's useless. Elemental Bubble would be fine. Elemental Weapon would be useless. We've got Line Breaker. Lucky Ammo, Better Half would be useless. Punch Bolt would be useless. Lock and Load would be useless. Okay, so we can get Well Polished on Safe Space, which will give us a flat damage increase of 15%. So that's not bad. But that's basically the same as just taking an upgrade to increase the Bonk Hammer damage in general. Warning Device will only give us marking potential. Yeah, Stim Bubble doesn't buff Bonk Hammer. Tactical Slap potentially would be the only other one. Right, yeah, so sorry about that. Do I reroll for Tactical Slap or just take Safe Space? There's a bunch of things which would be completely useless, so I think I'm just going to take Safe Space. Ironically, it's the safe option. Probably would have preferred Tactical Slap, but I don't know if I'm getting it in the next roll, so better not to risk it. You can see now we're up to almost 400 damage on a stun target, which is pretty nice. Especially considering we've had no claw drops or anything like that that's actually just raw buffing the damage. I don't think we've even taken a bash damage increase. Bonk Hammer goes first. It's always good to bonk quickly. $500 damage on a mark target. As I keep saying, like it's good damage. It is unfortunate that it's less damage, just a lot less damage than you can get from a recon. And if you're wanting to do melee builds, then recon is just the better choice. But if you're wanting to have fun, I feel like this option is definitely loads more fun than what recon can do. Just because of the ridiculous attack speed that you get. Which I guess ultimately is probably only about 30% more attack speed than you can get on the daggers, but there you go. It's the most annoying shield bot in the game because it makes that turret, you have to challenge the turret in order to go up and get what's buffing it, which makes it really frustrating to kill. Q cancelling my weapons too quick. I didn't stun it. There we go. Now it's stunned. Go check the shop again. Lightning fast speeds. That's the other thing that this build is really nice for, is how much attack speed you get. Feels so good. Not attack speed, sorry, movement speed. So if I was to have Viking helmet or anything like that, I would also be doing a bit more damage. But we haven't actually been all that lucky in stacking. Got 2 elites here that are both covered by shield bots, so it's really frustrating. There we go. Okay, well polished. So we're now doing 4 out of 55 damage with bonks because of the level up and damage bonus. Dropped some of my damage there because by taking damage I was losing DPS because I had scratch damage temporarily. But I've also got socks as well, so obviously I can clear that scratch damage very quickly. Because defensively my items have been fine, but offensively they've been pretty bad. Kill these berserker turrets as quickly as possible because they are the scariest thing in the game. Shield bots, die. Mark you up. Dope. I've got one more room to clear and then we are out of here. Damage a hit. Again, I know I keep comparing it to the Recon, but that is the only other melee comparison we've got. Let's take into account melee weapons, in which case the bonk hammer is infinitely better. But we are doing about 400 damage less than the Recon would be doing, unfortunately, which is quite a big difference. But it's still chunking. On to Haven. Haven should be fairly simple. We shouldn't go below half health. I don't think we've really gone below half health in this whole run. So here we go, look, we've got Paintbrush at last, which is a big damage bonus. Obviously earlier I said if I take life jacket there's a chance we get Paintbrush, but I would have had to have gone 90% of the game with 20% less armour. So I would have been on -10 before I could see the effects of it. And now we've also got Viking Helmet, which works really well with Linebreaker, so I'm fairly sure that it's a 1-for-1, so that's a 20% damage increase from that as well. So we're now going to be reaching closer to 700 damage melee attacks, which is pretty big. A lot less against targets which are immune to fire. We may as well take Stubbornness. Doesn't really make much odds at this point. 500 damage without marking. You were on what, 640 or something with marking before? Let's see what we get with the combo now. That's 630. Does Viking Helmet only affect? It says bonus damage, so it doesn't say it's only weapon damage. Yeah, even after 1,000 hours, I don't know every single mechanic perfectly. And it's not the easiest things to test. But I'm sure if someone goes through and takes the damage numbers into account, they'll be able to tell me in the comments how much it's affecting it and how much it isn't. No, I took scratch damage. Where's the eliters? There. Get rid of the explosive bot at the same time. Not going to bother meleeing him because he's immune to fire. Okie dokie. Really? Yeah, 620 damage. I feel like I've gone down in damage, not up. That's strange. Bonsai tree is pretty big. Now 20% chance for my melee attacks to be able to crit as well, which is nice. Hey, made it through the hole. Just rocket jump through to the next area, drop in and start swinging. First target would be a fire immune, so we're dealing less damage. That's the way the cookie crumbles. And despite us being a melee build, I'm going to take Bonk Bubble, which is going to be hilarious if we manage to get Uncle. But yeah, despite us being a Bonk build, this laser saw is going hard. So that's kind of what it does. Damage was crazy. Right, so I took some damage there. Wasn't a particularly tough room, I just wasn't paying enough attention really to what was going on. None of these are all that useful. Take credit card just for the RNG of it. It just basically means we might get one or two more shots from the laser saw per clip, but again, not going to be trying to do most damage with that, so it doesn't really matter too much. There's some of these, some terrible accuracy shots. Get us and leave. So as you can see from the time, this isn't the quickest of builds, but it's okay. Hey, we got Uncle Jim. Right, so now you should see an amusing thing here. Right, watch the shield. Right, it just goes down so slowly. And now we can get the stun off. $700 damage. Shots ain't bad. Go. Now with health pickup range and maybe the octopus plushie, it works a little bit better because there are still health cells that are dropping that you're missing because of the pickup range. So by increasing your pickup range instead of having the extra armor or something like that I had, it works a little bit better, but it's neither here nor there. You can hard tank the boss, which is quite amusing. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the build. Any requests or anything like that, leave them down in the comments. And if you can work out what was and what wasn't affecting the Bonk Hammer's damage, let me know. Cheers guys, have fun, goodbye.